Do you know that your current reality is just a reflection of your past thoughts and beliefs? That means what you're experiencing right now isn't proof of what's possible, it's just a delayed result of an old mindset. But here's the challenge: how do you keep the faith when everything around you seems to be going against your desires? This is where most people give up, thinking manifestation doesn't work. But Neville Goddard taught that faith isn't about reacting to what you see, it's about holding firm to what you know to be true, despite appearances. In this video, I'll reveal powerful techniques straight from Neville's teachings to help you sustain unshakable faith, no matter what your reality looks like. Stay with me till the very end because the final technique is the missing key that most people overlook, yet it can completely change how you manifest. Let's dive in. You know that feeling when you're holding onto a vision, but everything in your external world is screaming the exact opposite? It's frustrating, right? Like trying to hold onto a dream while reality keeps throwing cold water on your face. That's where persistence comes in, real, unshakable persistence in imagining your wish is already fulfilled, no matter what's happening around you. Now, let's be real. This isn't about daydreaming once and expecting the universe to snap its fingers in agreement. It's about making that vision so vivid, so real in your mind, that it becomes more convincing than anything your senses are currently feeding you. Because here's the thing, your senses? They're habitual liars. They reflect the past, not the future you're stepping into. If you trust them more than your inner world, you're just reaffirming what already exists instead of birthing something new. So, how do you persist? First, it's about saturation. You have to soak your mind in the feeling of your wish being done. This isn't a surface-level thing, it's deep. You've got to wake up in the middle of the night and still feel that certainty humming in your bones. You don't waver just because today looks the same as yesterday. The moment you start to question, but where is it? Why isn't anything changing? That's the moment you're slipping back into the old state. And trust me, the old state wants you back. It's comfortable. It's familiar. It will whisper all sorts of reasons why you should just accept reality as it is. But persistence is rebellion. It's standing firm in the face of contradiction. When everything outside is laughing at your conviction, you smile back because you know something it doesn't. You're no longer reacting to what's in front of you, you're living from what's within you. And the thing is, if you do this long enough, if you persist without doubting, without second-guessing, your external world has no choice but to conform. Let's talk about emotional endurance for a second because this isn't just a mental game, it's an emotional one. You need to cultivate that inner knowing so deeply that even when doubts creep in, and they will, you don't entertain them. You don't let them move in and start rearranging the furniture in your mind. The trick? Stop checking. Stop looking outside for proof. You don't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You water it, nurture it, and trust the process. And don't confuse persistence with effort. This isn't about force. It's not about straining to make something happen. It's about dwelling in a state of absolute conviction, living in the feeling of already having what you desire. If you're struggling, it's usually because you're trying too hard, which means you don't truly believe yet. Because when you believe, persistence is natural. It's effortless. It's just who you are. One last thing, become unavailable to anything that contradicts your vision. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, lock into your desired state like it's the only reality that exists. Because in a way, it is. Everything else? Just noise. And noise fades when you stop listening. Alright, let's be honest. When you're holding onto a vision, but the outside world is throwing you the exact opposite, it's tempting, almost automatic, to start questioning everything. Doubt creeps in. Maybe you start thinking, am I delusional? Is this even working? Maybe I should just accept what's in front of me and stop wasting time. But here's the thing, what's in front of you is nothing but an echo. A reflection. A delayed signal of past thoughts, beliefs, and states of being. If you let it dictate how you feel, you're trapped. You're reacting instead of creating. And when you react, you reinforce the very thing you're trying to change. This is where refusal becomes a superpower. Not stubbornness, not blind denial, but an unwavering commitment to your inner world over the external. Reality may bark, scream, and parade contradictions in front of you, but you don't flinch. You don't entertain it. You refuse to give it power. Now, this isn't easy at first. The senses have been in control for a long time. They've been the authority, dictating what's real and what's not. But Neville was clear, your imagination is the real reality. The outer world? Just clay waiting to be reshaped. If you take the bait and react to what is, you're letting the clay harden into a shape you don't even want. So, how do you stand firm? First, you've got to develop a kind of tunnel vision. Not ignorance, awareness without attachment. You see what's happening, but you don't let it penetrate. It's like watching a storm through a window. The wind howls, the rain pounds, but you're inside, warm and dry. You don't run outside screaming, the storm is real. I have to do something. No. You let it pass. And it will pass. The moment you stop reacting to contradictions, their grip weakens. They lose momentum. What you give attention to persists, so starve the illusions. Don't feed them with doubt, worry, or frustration. Instead, anchor yourself in the unseen. Feel it real, even when it looks absurd. Especially when it looks absurd. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about not giving them authority. You can acknowledge them without bowing to them. There's a difference between saying, "This is what's happening right now, but I know it's shifting," and saying, "This is happening, so I guess my vision isn't real." One keeps you in control. The other hands over the keys. And let's talk about patience. Because the moment things don't change fast enough, impatience sneaks in. And impatience? That's just doubt in disguise. It whispers, if this was really working, it would have happened by now. But that's not how this game works. The outside world takes time to catch up. Think of it like an echo in a canyon. You speak, and there's a delay before you hear the sound bounce back. Just because you don't hear it immediately doesn't mean it's not coming. So, the real challenge? Can you hold your inner state steady despite the noise outside? Can you live in the knowing that just because something hasn't physically shown up yet, it's still done? Because that's where the power is. That's where things shift. Doubt will knock. Fear will whisper. The external world will poke, prod, and test you. But the moment you refuse to be swayed, when you hold your ground and stay in the state of already having, it has no choice but to bend. It always bends. Let's get something straight, your imagination isn't just a playground for random thoughts and fantasies. It's the blueprint of your life, the architect of everything you experience. And yet, most people treat it like an afterthought, like some whimsical thing that has no real power. That's the biggest mistake. The truth? What you consistently entertain in your mind is shaping your world, whether you realize it or not. Now, here's the tricky part. The external world has a way of making you forget this. It throws circumstances at you, parades contradictions, and tries to convince you that what you see is the only reality. If you don't remind yourself, daily, relentlessly, that imagination creates reality, you'll fall into the trap of believing what's already in front of you. And the moment you do that, you reinforce it. So, how do you keep this truth alive? How do you make it so ingrained in your being that it becomes second nature? You repeat it. Not mechanically, not as empty words, but as a living, breathing truth that pulses through you. Every morning, every night, in the quiet moments, in the chaotic ones, you bring it back. You remind yourself that what's in your mind is the seed, and what's outside is just the fruit of past planting. But it's not enough to just say it. You have to feel it. To know it so deeply that even when the outside world looks unchanged, even when nothing seems to be moving, you don't flinch. Because you understand the process. You know the unseen is always at work, reshaping, rearranging, realigning. Think about it. Where do your desires even come from? Why do certain visions pull at you, whisper to you, feel right? It's not random. It's because they already exist in some unseen form, waiting for you to claim them. The moment you acknowledge this, the game changes. No longer are you hoping, wishing, or begging for things to change. You're deciding, declaring with certainty that your imagination is the real reality, and everything else is just catching up. And let's talk about discipline. Because let's be real, this isn't a one-time realization. You don't just wake up one day, understand that imagination creates reality, and then never need to remind yourself again. No. The world will test you. Doubts will creep in. Old beliefs will try to take back control. This is why daily reinforcement is crucial. Affirm it to yourself, but don't do it mindlessly. Sit with it. Let it sink in. Ask yourself, if my imagination truly creates reality, how would I think today? How would I feel? How would I act? And then embody that. Not tomorrow. Not when the external shifts. Now. Because waiting is just another way of saying you don't believe. And when impatience comes knocking, and it will, remember this, time is just an illusion of the senses. The moment you fully accept your desired state within, the wheels are already turning. You don't have to know how or when things will shift, you just have to trust that they will. So every single day, no matter what's happening, no matter how strong the illusion of delay or contradiction, you remind yourself, imagination creates reality. Not sometimes. Not if circumstances allow. Always. And the more you drill this into your being, the less the outside world will have a hold on you. Because once you know this, not just intellectually, but deep in your bones, you move differently. You stop needing proof. You stop wavering. You just live as if your vision is already done. And that, right there, is when everything changes. Living from the end, let's talk about it. Not just as a concept, not as some vague idea floating around in your mind, but as a lived reality. Because that's the only way this works. You don't just think about your desire. You don't hope, you don't wait, and you definitely don't beg. You become. Now, I get it. The world loves to remind you of what's missing. It'll throw contradictions in your face, taunting you with all the reasons why your vision isn't real. But here's the thing, if you let what's in front of you dictate what you believe, you're not living from the end. You're just reacting. And reacting keeps you stuck. So what does it mean to really live from the end? It means you already are the person who is what they desire. Right now. Not later. Not when circumstances change. Not when you get something. Now. Because if you're still waiting, you're still lacking. And if you're still lacking, you're reinforcing that state. This isn't about faking it. It's not about pretending or putting on a performance. It's deeper than that. It's about shifting your core. Thinking from the wish fulfilled, not just about it. Feeling it so deeply that there's no room for doubt, no space for questioning. It's knowing, in your bones, that what you want is already yours. And let's be real, this takes commitment. Your mind will want to wander. It'll look for evidence. It'll try to measure progress. But the moment you start checking if it's working, you've already stepped out of the state. Because the person who is doesn't check. They just are. So how do you stay in the end? First, you master the inner dialogue. The way you talk to yourself, the stories you tell, it all has to align. You can't say, "I know it's coming," and then immediately worry about when. That's not living in the end. That's living in waiting. Big difference. The end state doesn't wonder. It doesn't waver. It just exists. Second, you embody the feeling. And no, this doesn't mean forcing emotions. It means settling into the knowing, the ease, the certainty. How does it feel to already be that person? To have what you want? There's a shift, one that brings relief, calmness, confidence. Tap into that, over and over, until it becomes second nature. Third, and maybe the most important, your actions. Not forced, not desperate, but natural expressions of your new state. You move differently when you already are. You think differently. You respond differently. You stop chasing, stop proving, stop overanalyzing. You just exist in that reality, and the world has no choice but to match you. And yes, resistance will show up. Doubts will whisper. Old patterns will try to drag you back. That's normal. The key? Don't fight them, just don't entertain them. Redirect. Remind yourself. Reaffirm. Keep stepping into the version of you that knows it's already done. Because at the end of the day, that's all this is, a shift in identity. You're not trying to get something. You're being someone. And when you truly live from the end, when you stop trying and start being, that's when reality bends. That's when things start unfolding in ways you never could have planned. So stop waiting. Stop hoping. Step into it. Now. Doubt. That sneaky little intruder that creeps in when you least expect it. You're steady, you're believing, you're locked into your vision, then suddenly, a thought whispers, "But what if this isn't working? What if it's all just wishful thinking?" And just like that, the cracks begin to form. But here's the thing, doubt isn't proof that your vision is false. It's not a sign to give up, backtrack, or start questioning everything. Doubt is just a test, a fleeting storm meant to see if you'll waver, if you'll fold, if you'll trade your conviction for external evidence. But if you recognize it for what it is, if you see it as nothing more than an illusion trying to shake you, then it loses all power over you. So what do you do when doubt shows up, knocking at the door, pretending to be logical and convincing? You don't let it move in. You don't offer it a seat at the table. You acknowledge it, sure, but you don't entertain it. Instead, you reaffirm. You double down. You remind yourself, this is just a test. My vision is real. My inner world is the only truth. Because let's be honest, if your desire wasn't possible, if it wasn't real in some unseen way, why would doubt even need to exist? Why would it try so hard to shake you? Doubt only comes when something is in motion. When change is already underway. That's why it feels so strong right before a breakthrough, because the old reality senses its grip loosening, and it fights to pull you back. But that's the game, isn't it? The moment you master this, the moment you see doubt as nothing more than a temporary fog, it stops controlling you. Instead of reacting, you stand firm. You don't need proof, validation, or reassurance from the outside world. You are the proof. You are the reassurance. And reaffirming? That's not just about saying nice words to yourself. It's about locking into the knowing, fully, completely, unwaveringly. Every time doubt whispers, you answer with certainty. You remind yourself who's in charge. You bring yourself back to the end, to the feeling of already being the person who has it. Because that's the real danger of doubt, it tries to pull you out of the state. It makes you question. It makes you check if it's working. And the moment you start checking, you shift. You slip from the certainty of the wish fulfilled into the limbo of maybe. And maybe creates nothing. Maybe keeps you stuck. So you have to make a decision. A real, deep, final decision that no matter what your senses tell you, no matter what thoughts pop up, you will hold the vision. You will trust. You will persist. Because the moment you do that, the moment you treat doubt like background noise instead of a warning sign, you become untouchable. And when you become untouchable, reality has no choice. It bends. It shifts. It molds itself to match the certainty you refuse to let go of. So let doubt come. Let it try. And then let it fade. Because it always does. The only thing that remains? The vision you never abandoned. Faith isn't about what you see, it's about what you know within. When reality feels opposite, remember, persistence and assumption is the key. Neville Goddard taught that your inner conviction shapes the outer world, not the other way around. If this video gave you clarity, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights on manifestation and the power of the mind. And drop a comment below. How do you keep faith alive when things seem uncertain? Stay steadfast in your vision, trust the unseen, and soon, reality will align. Keep imagining boldly, and I'll see you in the next one.